Well, speaking of Tupac, you made a video of how Tupac faked his death.
Yeah.
Which is cap.
That was an April Fool's video.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Because Tupac really is dead.
No, but the idea of that video is it was April Fool's, but what I wanted to do with it is to kind of like actually present all of the bullshit theories of Tupac still being alive as fact, and then sort of say at the end, all that's cap, but those are actually the theories. Because the theories about Tupac being alive are actually very interesting, because the little bits of media and the little bits of tidbits of information that actually build this supposed narrative that he's still alive, he's in Cuba, he's hiding out, he's had reconstructive surgery, they're all very interesting. Tupac's not alive. That was definitely an April Fool's, so you know what I'm saying? It's just, it is what it is, but, you know, I think the legend of Tupac is just so big. You know, you even, in that video, you have, even Suge Knight himself was walking around saying, Tupac's still alive, man, he in Cuba. Even Suge is saying that, he was there when that happened, right? So, you know, these internet conspiracy theories do get out of hand. There was a whole fake documentary made about the guy that allegedly, he said, I helped Tupac get out the country and we actually took him via helicopter away for, you know, it's crazy. But the degree to which people take it is just insane. But that was the idea of that video, but that's not fake news. That was a bit of April Fool's. And I do say at the end, okay, these theories are cap, but that's what it is.
Well, you did a doc on Drakeo the Ruler. This was someone I interviewed. I believe I did his first interview out of prison. Out of jail, I guess, because he was in county for a long time. And I remember they even reached out to me to do the interview while he was still locked up and he was facing the murder charge. And I said, I don't want to do it because this will be, you know, this will be part of his case. I don't want to be the reason why he gets convicted. So, but I'm like, as soon as you get out, I got you. He came out, I got him. Dope interview. He became a really serious force in LA hip hop. I mean, in fact, a lot of people say that most LA rappers now rap. You know, the new generation, the young kids are rapping like Draco. Yeah. He leveled up. He started to get big. Drake jumped on a song with him. I think Sweetie jumped on a song with him. He was, you know, he became a millionaire relatively quickly. And then he dropped the song Ingleweird, which I thought was a big mistake.
Yeah. Hard song, big mistake.
Big mistake. And then during a show that he was supposed to perform at, he got stabbed backstage. And to this day, it's an unsolved murder, which really shocked me considering how many people were there.
Yeah. Whole thing's on video.
It's on video, but they can't tell who's who?
You can't see exactly who he is, but I've really analyzed and broken down that video. You can basically sort of see the moment that the blade sort of gets swung at him. And then obviously there's another video of him on the ground.
So can you see the person who's actually swinging the...
You can see the shape of them. I couldn't tell you who they are. It's kind of in a distance. The camera's kind of far, but you can actually see it. Like you know, I could show it to you and slow you down and be like, this is where it actually happens. Which is crazy, but it's super unfortunate, man. Funnily enough, before I came here this morning, I just did a podcast with Munchie B, actually. Funnily enough, connected to that whole situation. But yeah, super tragic what happened with Draco. But to be honest, man, like having covered him very closely and learned a lot about him and read into that story, learned about the case, learned about him. He spent a lot of time in solitary confinement when he was inside. I think that really affected him mentally. And I think when he came out, he was really mentally disturbed and he was on the warpath to diss his ops, to make fun of them. Obviously, Munchie B, who was cool with Red Bull, who was the man that lost his life in the shooting that Draco was on trial for, that he ended up, you know, beating those charges, or the charges got dropped, sorry. You know, Draco had been dissing Munchie relentlessly. The amount of lyrics that he dropped disrespecting him, he was, you know, Draco had lyrics saying he was trying to get him killed. He said, you know, Munchie B's blind, right? So he's got a lyric where he said, I just dropped 50 on a blind dude. He ain't gonna see it coming. Draco's on songs talking about, I'm finna have them killed. I'm putting money on their heads. Inglewood, it's all about Inglewood, you know, they're Inglewood families. That's that whole area, that guy Red Bull that got killed. Draco was just putting so much sauce on it. The amount of times that he was going live. He went live with the guy Kells, who was the kid that actually got convicted for the murder of Red Bull. And he was on live with him. You know, Draco's beat his case, but Kells has gone down for the murder, right? And he's on there going, there's nothing they can say. There's nothing they can do. I'm outside. Like, he was just taunting it relentlessly, and it's such a shame. He was getting Drake features. He was dealing with the most serious people in the game, but he couldn't leave that alone. You know, one of his last interviews that he did was on No Jumper, where he was really dissing the ops heavily, to the point where Adam didn't really clock what he was talking about. But he's saying all this disrespectful stuff. Adam's like, what? But when you know, AD, who was at the time was on No Jumper, sat next to Adam saying, yo, we got to leave that alone. you know, I've broken it all down in my video and worked out like, yo, he's talking about this person, he's dissing this, he's being very disrespectful to this person, to this area, to this person from Inglewood. The fact that you would have Drake features and you would still be beefing like that, he was just on the warpath, you know. And I personally, my theory was that he was so affected by the solitary confinement that he had served while inside that affected him mentally, and that when he got out, all he could think about was just beefing with the ops, putting them down. He was probably so mentally disturbed, he probably couldn't, you know, so traumatized, PTSD, he couldn't even really appreciate the positive stuff that he had going on. And he kept pushing this beef. And as far as I'm aware, those guys on that other side, they didn't really, like, from what I was aware, they didn't really put shade on him like that. I mean, really, it was more so like in the late stages, or especially after Draco died, that they really started dissing him. You know, Munchie dropped a song over the Inglewood beat right after Draco died, dissing him and talking about he got stabbed in the neck and all of this stuff. You know, obviously, no one was ever caught for the crime, but, you know, there was certainly a big group of people that were very happy when Draco got killed. But I feel like he really had a death wish, to be honest. You know, he was just acting absolutely outrageous. He was going live, he was pulling up on people, he was saying that he was chasing this person. Some lyric where he's like, "I never seen somebody run from a Rolls Royce like this," like saying he was sliding on people in his Rolls Royce, just moving crazy. So it's very unfortunate, man. I think a lot of guys probably do get really traumatized when they're incarcerated, to go through solitary confinement, and then when they get back in the streets, they're just not thinking with all of their brain cells, unfortunately. And you know, Draco just went out beefing when he had just a great opportunity in front of him, man. It's very sad.
Yeah, I had Brick Baby on my show recently. We
That was
talked
amazing.
about that whole
Great
situation.
interview.
Thank you. And he said, yeah, I don't know why Draco was pushing the line the way he was, because he wasn't a gang member. But he was kind of acting like one in his music and his social media presence. And yeah, ultimately he paid the price for that, it seems.
I think what's interesting about those guys, from what I understand, right, you got the Stink Team, which was like their little crew, where that was like the rap collective, but also they were like a crew of flockers, right? They were like a burglary crew. And, you know, it's famous, their whole thing. They've got all this Asian iconography. You know, their thing was, we rob Asian people. Asians keep cash in their house or whatever. We rob them. But from what I understood, that crew was kind of made up of like an amalgamation of different guys from different sets, a few different Crips that were involved with them. The thing that really doesn't add up to me to this day was like that day when the murder took place, you know, when Red Bull was killed. Things just don't add up. You know, obviously we know that the young man Kells that actually ended up going down for the murder, that was allegedly the shooter, you know, he got snitched on by, you know, another guy that was in their crew ultimately, that ended up telling about the situation. But it was always like we were saying about the big nut thing, it was always just unclear exactly like where, or exactly like why it all went down the way it did. You know, was Draco instigating what was going on? You know, they were at I think it was like a pajama party. They see this guy Red Bull from Inglewood come by and they open fire, but it sort of doesn't add up. Like when you see the paperwork, it sort of doesn't add up. And it's kind of like, was Draco really the shot caller for this stuff to happen? Or was it just he had a young bull that was just wild, that just saw someone they didn't like, shot him up, and just the crew were just like, shit, we just got to hold this. Like it was very unclear to me. And even, you know, having watched interviews with people like Munchie and, you know, other people from that area, Frosty, that Draco was beefing with, like a lot of those guys kind of say, we didn't even really know him like that. We didn't know it was that serious with them. And, you know, until Red Bull winds up losing his life, and then next thing you know, Draco's dissing these guys relentlessly. But it was a little bit hard to understand how this beef escalated so much. And there's a little part of me that feels like, you know, maybe Draco, it was that real kind of era when drill and the violent gangster rap was really kind of having a resurgence. And I wonder whether Draco just sort of felt like, well, I'm not the killer, and I'm not really gang like that, but I'm going to claim this. This is going to be part of my music and part of my story, and I'm going to claim the Red Bull murder, and I'm going to diss Inglewood, and I'm going to take it to the next level, and this is what's going to give me some more motion. You know, a very bad decision, but maybe that was his reasoning. But it was really hard for me to understand, like, why are you going out like that? You know, why are you treating these guys like this? As far as I was aware, there wasn't a historical beef.